God.
Figure it out yourself. That's what my wife Haley shouted at me as she slammed the gas pedal tires screeching on the cracked asphalt of a desolate gas station in Missoula, Montana. The cold October air slapped my face as her sedan vanished into the distance, her sister's laughter echoing from the back seat like a cruel chorus. Just like that, I was alone. No car, no ride, no clue what the hell just happened. I stood there frozen, my hand still holding a cup of gas station coffee that had already gone cold. That wasn't a joke. That wasn't some silly prank gone too far. That was humiliation plain and brutal. We were supposed to be on our way to Spokane for her cousin's wedding, a weekend road trip, just the four of us sharing gas and hotel costs. I'd even agreed to take her car instead of my truck. She insisted it would be more comfortable. Now I see what she meant. Haley had been acting off since the moment we left Boise, whispering with her sisters, giggling like they were 13 again. Every time I asked what was going on, she'd flash that fake little smile and say, "Nothing, babe, just sister stuff." But her eyes never matched her tone. They always darted to Alyssa in the rear view like they were waiting for a signal. I should have trusted my gut right then. At the last gas station stop about an hour before Missoula, I went inside to grab a coffee and hit the restroom. I was gone 5 minutes, maybe 6. When I came back out, they were already in the car engine running. Haley rolled down the window, smiling like someone about to drop a punchline. "Hop in," she said. I reached for the door handle. "No," she cut in. Still smiling, but her tone was off. Cold. "Actually, we've been talking. We think you need to learn some independence." I blinked. Thought I misheard. What I asked. Then Alyssa leaned up from the back seat, like this was completely normal. "You're just so clingy, Ethan, like a little lost puppy." Megan laughed. "We figured this would be good for you. A little adventure." At that moment, I realized I didn't have the keys. Not to the car, not to my truck, just my house keys. My truck was parked back in Boise. My wallet had $26 in it. No coat, just a hoodie. No gloves, no map, no plan. "This isn't funny," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. But my hands were shaking. From the cold, maybe. From the fury building in my chest, definitely. "It's not a joke," Haley replied, eyes glinting. "It's a prank." Then she said it. That one line. "Figure it out yourself." And she drove off. I stood in that lot long after her taillights disappeared. The coffee dropped from my hand. I didn't even notice it hit the ground. The wind picked up, slicing through my hoodie. I pulled out my phone, called Haley, straight to voicemail, called Alyssa. No answer. Megan. She'd blocked me months ago after a dumb argument about whether I could help her move a couch. That's when it really hit me. This wasn't spontaneous. This wasn't 3 bored women suddenly deciding to ditch the guy. This was planned, coordinated, cold. I stumbled back inside the station. The clerk barely looked up. I asked if there were buses headed to Boise. "Nothing runs through here," he said. "Closest bus station is in Billings. That's about 40 miles east." I stood there, absorbing that number like it was a death sentence. 40 miles. Through winding mountain roads. No ride, no signal, no help. I wasn't just stranded. I was disposable. In their eyes, I was nothing but a joke. A punchline to their private comedy. I remember looking at my reflection in the glass door of that station. My face was pale, stunned, hollow. I looked like a man who'd just lost everything and hadn't even realized it until now. I could have curled up right there, waited for someone to come back, but no one was coming. So I started walking. No choice. Each step into the cold felt like punishment. My legs ached. My hands numbed. Snow started falling around midnight. 5 hours later, soaked and freezing, I finally reached a diner on the edge of Billings. I ordered hot tea and sat in silence. The waitress must have known something was wrong. She didn't ask questions, just refilled my cup. I took the first Greyhound I could find. 14 hours back to Boise, in the same clothes, same pain, and a completely different man than the one who'd left just a day ago. And not once during that entire ride did my phone light up with an apology. The Greyhound rolled into Boise just after 9 a.m. The sky was gray, heavy, like it knew something I didn't. I stepped off the bus, stiff, sleep-deprived, and sore in every place a man could be sore. But I wasn't tired. Not really. I was angry, not the kind of anger that burns hot and fast, but the kind that sits low in your chest like a weight pressing against your ribs with every breath. I didn't go to work. I didn't call anyone. I took a cab straight to our house. The driveway was empty, quiet. I unlocked the door and stepped into silence so thick it felt like a funeral home. Our shoes still lined up by the door. Her scarf still hanging on the hook. It was like walking into a memory. Except the man who used to live here didn't exist anymore. I sat at the kitchen table, hands trembling, not from the cold this time, but from everything boiling inside. 8 years. 8 damn years. I had built this life for us. Paid the mortgage, fixed the plumbing, bought her that coffee machine she wanted even though I hated espresso. I'd bent over backwards to make her happy. And this was the thanks I got. I don't know why I opened her laptop. Maybe part of me was still looking for an answer. Maybe part of me thought I'd find something redeeming, some kind of explanation. But I didn't. What I found shattered whatever pieces of hope I had left. The laptop was locked, but Haley was never good about closing her tabs. Chrome was still open. So was her group chat with Alyssa and Megan. It took me less than a minute to understand what I was reading. Messages stretching back months. Photos of me sleeping on the couch with captions like, "Dead to the world as usual." Screenshots of texts I had sent Haley spun, twisted, laughed at. My attempts at kindness turned into jokes. My words mocked by the people I had welcomed into my life. Then I saw it. A message from Alyssa. We should totally ditch him somewhere and see how long it takes him to crawl home. Megan OMG. Yes, he's so needy. Steph, come on, it'll be hilarious. Haley replied, you guys are terrible. But also, yeah, it would. They planned it. Every word, every moment. The gas station, the fake concern, the backup plan if I got home too early. He'll probably call his mommy, Alyssa had joked. Big baby. I stopped reading. I didn't cry, didn't yell. I just sat there, hollow, like all the oxygen had been sucked from the room. That's when I knew I was never coming back from this. I closed the laptop, packed a single duffel bag, didn't leave a note, didn't lock the door. I walked out the same way they had driven off. Only difference, I wasn't coming back. I drove straight to my brother Ryan's place on the south side of town. He worked nights as a mechanic and always kept a spare room just in case. He opened the door, took one look at me, and said, "How long you staying?" I said, "Don't know." That night, I told him everything. The ride, the messages, the laughter, the betrayal. Ryan just shook his head, cracked open 2 beers, and handed me one. "Jesus, man," he said. "You're better off without her." And for the first time since Montana, I believed him. The next morning, I called my supervisor at Rockridge Civil Works, told him I needed a transfer. Boise had been good to me, but I needed a fresh start somewhere without shadows. He didn't ask questions, just said there was an opening on a hospital renovation project in Coeur d'Alene. Said I could start Wednesday. I said I'd be there. I spent the next few days crashing on Ryan's couch, helping him work on his truck, eating fast food, trying to pretend like my world hadn't just imploded. But at night, when the house was quiet, I'd lie there staring at the ceiling, replaying everything. The look on Haley's face when she said, "Figure it out yourself." The way Megan giggled like it was some kind of reality show. The words in that chat thread, the jokes, the contempt, the utter lack of humanity. And the worst part, I'd loved her. I had loved her more than I loved myself. And that was my mistake. On Tuesday afternoon, my phone rang. Haley. I stared at the screen for a moment. My stomach twisted. I let it go to voicemail. "Ethan, where are you? I came home and you're gone. That's not like you. Call me. We need to talk. No apology, no remorse. Just confusion like I was the one who'd crossed a line." I blocked her number. An hour later, Alyssa called. Blocked. Then Megan. Blocked. But they didn't stop. I started getting calls from different numbers. Some I recognized Haley's work phone. Others were unknown. Same message, different voices. "You're overreacting. It was just a prank. We need to talk this out like adults. Like adults. You abandoned me. 300 miles from home, laughed about it. And now I'm supposed to sit down for a cup of tea and chat. Like nothing happened." They had no idea what they'd done. The Thursday, Ryan came home from work with a weird look on his face. He set his keys down, took off his boots, and said, "Your wife's here." My stomach dropped. What, she's outside, sitting in her car, hasn't gotten out yet. I went to the window. There she was. Haley's silver sedan parked across the street, engine idling. She sat in the driver's seat, staring at our building like she was trying to summon courage or control. I didn't wait for her to knock. I walked downstairs and met her in the lobby. She stood up as soon as she saw me, eyes wide with fake relief. "Ethan," she reached for my hand. "Thank God. I've been so worried." I took a step back. "What do you want, Haley? I want you to come home," she said quickly. "I want us to talk. To move past this. Move past what I said, my voice colder than I'd ever heard it. That you abandoned me in the middle of nowhere. That you and your sisters planned it for months." Her face faltered. Just for a second. The mask slipped, and behind it I saw something that chilled me: irritation. Not guilt. Not sadness. Just pure arrogant irritation. "It was a prank, Ethan," she said. "God, you're acting like we committed a crime." "You left me stranded," I said. "You laughed about it. You made a group chat and planned it. You humiliated me." She crossed her arms, defensive now. "Because you needed it. You're so dependent, so clingy. We thought if you had to figure something out for once, maybe you'd grow up a little." There it was. The real reason, not fun, not spontaneity, control. The lobby was silent, except for the buzz of the overhead lights. I looked at her. This woman I had built a life with, and finally said what I had been holding in for far too long. "I'm not coming home." She blinked. It was like she hadn't even considered that possibility. "Don't be ridiculous," she snapped. "You can't just walk away because your feelings got hurt." "Watch me," I said. I turned and walked toward the elevator. She followed behind, voice rising, talking faster, pleading, bargaining, then blaming. But I wasn't listening anymore. When the elevator doors slid shut, She was still talking, and I was already gone. The next morning, I got a text from a number I didn't recognize. "This is Alyssa. Stephanie's really upset. You need to fix this." I showed it to Ryan. He looked at the message, then looked at me, dead serious. "Change your number," he said. So I did. 3 weeks passed. 3 of the most peaceful, honest, and quiet weeks I'd had in years. I woke up early, went to work on the hospital site in Coeur d'Alene, came home covered in sawdust, and sweat helped Ryan tune up his truck on weekends, and made every single decision without checking in with anyone. What to eat, what to watch, what time to go to sleep. It was small stuff, but it was mine. All mine. I signed a lease on a 1-bedroom apartment south of town. Nothing special. No view. 2nd floor. But it had sunlight in the morning hardwood floors, and no one telling me I was too boring or too sensitive or not enough. For the first time in a long time, I felt like a whole person again. Then the phone rang. It was Mom. I stared at the number for a second, hesitated, then answered. "Ethan, honey," she said gently, her voice already coated in concern. "Haley came by the house." I closed my eyes. Of course she did. "She said you're going through something," Mom continued. "That you disappeared after a family trip. That you haven't answered her calls. She's worried." There it was. Haley was still playing the game, still spinning the story, still trying to control the narrative. My mom had always liked Haley, thought she was sharp-grounded, loyal, the type of woman who kept a man focused. She had no idea who she really was. "It's not a breakdown, Mom," I said. "We're having problems. Big ones." "What kind of problems can't be worked out?" she asked softly. I didn't want to go into it. Didn't want to explain screenshots and chat logs and voicemails filled with fake sympathy and real cruelty. Didn't want to say out loud that the woman she thought was perfect had left me 300 miles from home for fun. "I'll call you later," I told her. "I just need to think." When I hung up, I sat on the floor of my new apartment and stared at the blank wall across from me for a long time. And then it hit me. She wasn't done. She hadn't learned a thing. She still thought I was the one who needed to come crawling back. Still thought if she twisted the truth hard enough, it would snap in her direction. Still thought I was weak enough to stay silent. So that weekend, I drove back to Boise, not to the house. I went to Marcus's place, my old friend from the job site, the guy who'd stood next to me on my wedding day. He opened the door and pulled me into a bear hug before I even said a word. "I heard you and Haley split," he said. "Sorry, man." She looked pretty torn up. Of course she did. That was her specialty, looking like the victim. I sat on his back porch, beer in hand, and told him the real story. Every detail. The drive, the messages, the abandonment, the silence, the fake concern, the smears to my own family. When I was done, Marcus sat quietly for a moment, then said, "Man, why would she do that?" I looked at him. Honest, raw. I think she wanted to hurt me, not permanently. Just enough to remind me how replaceable I am, how powerless. Marcus nodded slowly. Then he said something I'll never forget. "You know what I remember from your wedding," he said. "You were laughing with my crew. Guys, relaxed, happy. And every time you looked like you were enjoying yourself, Haley would come over, interrupt. Say you needed to take a photo or thank someone, like she couldn't stand watching you be happy without her controlling it. Something in me cracked open, because that was exactly it. That was the truth I had buried under excuses and hope and denial. She didn't love me. She needed to own me. That night, I drove past our old house. Her car was in the driveway, lights on, curtains drawn. I didn't stop. I didn't knock. I just kept driving because I finally understood. I wasn't running away from a broken marriage. I was running toward a better life. Over the next few months, I did what I should have done years ago. I opened my own bank account, transferred my half of the savings before she could touch a cent more, found a lawyer. Her name was Patricia Coleman, older woman, sharp as a razor, and not the least bit surprised by anything I told her. She sat across from me in her modest office in downtown Coeur d'Alene, listening quietly while I unloaded everything. No interruptions, no fake sympathy, just focus. When I finished, she leaned back, folded her hands, and asked, "Do you have documentation of the harassment?" I pulled out a folder and placed it on the table. Screenshots of text messages, voicemails, photos of her group chat with Alyssa and Megan. Her showing up at my mom's house painting me as unstable. Every lie, every smear. She flipped through them, silently nodding as she went. "Good," she said. "You're not just walking away. You're protecting yourself." By the time I walked out of that office, I felt something I hadn't felt in months. Control. Not over her. Not over revenge. But over my own damn life. In the meantime, I kept building my little world. I furnished my apartment piece by piece, no compromises, no debates over colors or cushions. I cooked what I liked, played music as loud as I wanted. And every Sunday morning, I sat with a cup of coffee and didn't have to check my phone for some last-minute emergency from Megan or Alyssa. I was free. And then one day, I did something I never thought I'd do. I started a podcast. I called it The Man Left Behind. It was just my voice. Raw, honest. No sound effects. No sponsors. Just me, telling the truth about what happened, how it felt, what I learned. I didn't name names. Didn't rant. I just spoke. At first, I thought no one would listen. Maybe 5 or 10 plays. But the first episode hit a nerve. A week later, it had over 10,000 downloads. Messages started pouring in, mostly from men. Men who'd been manipulated, mocked, dismissed. Some who'd been abandoned. Some who'd stayed too long. One guy wrote, "I thought I was crazy until I heard your voice." Another said, "You gave me permission to leave." I cried, reading those messages. I didn't think I had anything left in me to cry, but I did. Then one evening, I came home to find an envelope wedged under my door. My name written on it. No stamp, no return address. Inside was a letter. Handwritten. It was from Haley. 4 pages. She didn't apologize. Not really. She admitted, maybe I went too far and things got out of hand, but the undertone was still there. Still the same script. I was too sensitive, too emotional. She said she missed what we had and hoped we could meet for coffee sometime. I didn't respond. Instead, I read that letter aloud on the next episode of my podcast. I left out her name, of course, but I ended the episode with something I'd never said out loud before I forgive her. Not because she deserves it, but because I do. I deserve peace. That episode went viral, and for the first time since she left me at that gas station, I didn't feel like a victim anymore. I felt like a man who survived something brutal and came out better on the other side. Weeks turned into months. One day, at a used bookstore downtown, I met someone. Her name was Claire. No drama. No games. Just quiet kindness and a smile that didn't hide anything behind it. We talked about books, about road trips, about bad coffee and second chances. I didn't fall head over heels. Not yet. But I felt something stir. Something honest. Something safe. And for now, that was enough. I wasn't just the man who got left behind. I was the man who walked forward and never looked back.